In the world of cultivators, hesitation was death and mercy, a luxury long buried beneath blood and ash. High above the mortal capital of Great Jin, beneath a sky that bore witness to both devils and immortals, Hanli stood alone. The winds carried no omen, yet fate had already begun tightening its invisible threads around him. Some enemies fled, others believed they could hide. But before absolute power distance meant nothing, and escape was merely an illusion waiting to be shattered. If you enjoy my way of explaining and storytelling, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really motivates me to keep creating. Hanli inclined his head with measured respect toward Cao Mengrong's senior martial sister. Yet when the man's extraordinary identity was revealed, a faint ripple stirred across his otherwise placid expression. The Southpillar general. He repeated, a trace of genuine surprise entering his voice. One of the 8 illustrious generals of Great Jin. It seems I have been discourteous. Though Hanli possessed little knowledge of the intricacies of the Great Jin court, the empire's most prominent figures were not unknown to him. The 8 great generals held in their hands the vast sinews of the empire's military might. Each commanded armies numbering in the millions, hardened soldiers stationed along distant frontiers, guarding the realm's borders like iron walls against foreign threats. Their banners flew where blood and frost mingled upon the wind. Yet Hanli's awareness of these men did not stem from any concern for mortal politics. Of the 8, 3 were scions of the imperial bloodline. The remaining 5, however, had ascended to their lofty stations through the subtle backing of the cultivation world's great superpowers. Even the imperial clan of Great Jin could not move lightly against them, and since the Southpillar general bore no royal surname, it was almost certain that a formidable cultivation faction stood in silent support behind him. General Wang smiled faintly and cupped his hands in greeting. I have heard from Mengrong that Sir Han walks the path of cultivation. I am but a mortal of fleeting years. How could I dare present myself as your superior? Hanli understood well that these were words of courtesy rather than humility. With his position attracting the service of core formation, cultivators would not be difficult. Nascent soul experts might be another matter, but qi condensation disciples would hardly warrant such respectful treatment. Hanli had previously informed Cao Mengrong that he remained at the qi condensation stage. For a man of such stature to extend this level of courtesy to a seemingly minor cultivator was no trivial matter. Moreover, it spoke of no small courage that he traveled toward the capital without the visible protection of a high-grade cultivator. Hanli returned the gesture modestly. General Wang is too polite. I would not dare act presumptuously. Even wandering cultivators such as myself have long heard tales of the general's prowess upon the battlefield. Young Miss Wang curved her lips into a graceful smile. Fellow Taoist Han, I have heard that during your time with Junior Marshal Sister Cao, you offered her guidance in cultivation. In but a few short years, she advanced 2 layers. When my master learned of this, she repeatedly praised Junior Marshal Sister Cao's fortune and remarked that Brother Han must have concealed his true cultivation. No ordinary cultivator could produce such astonishing results. Now that your body reveals not the slightest fluctuation of spiritual qi, it is clear you have mastered an exquisite qi-concealing art. It seems my master's insight was not misplaced. Still basking in the quiet joy of reunion, Cao Mengrong had not examined him closely. Now, as she focused her senses upon Hanli, she found nothing, no spiritual tide, no flicker of qi. Her eyes widened in disbelief. So that's how it is. Brother Han, then your cultivation must be. Hanli smiled serene as still water beneath moonlight. Years ago, I suffered a grave mishap and sustained heavy injuries. My cultivation was severely damaged. I have only recently restored it to some degree. I had no intention of deceiving fellow Taoist Cao. His tone was calm, yet it carried the unmistakable weight of finality. He would reveal nothing further. Young Miss Wang blinked, scrutinizing him once more. Even with careful probing, she sensed nothing amiss, no hidden current beneath the surface. Astonishment flickered in her eyes, though she masked it behind a gentle smile. In that case, it would be more appropriate to address fellow Taoist Han as senior. I hope senior will not take offense at junior martial sister Cao's previous familiarity. Senior. Han Li shook his head lightly. I am but a wandering cultivator in Great Jin. Titles are burdens I do not care to carry. I owe fellow Taoist Cao a debt. It is only natural she treats me as an equal. Chao Mengrong's expression trembled slightly at those words. A faint blush rose to her cheeks, and she lowered her gaze, silently accepting his decision. General Wang listened thoughtfully before speaking again, his voice steady. So Sir Han is in truth a cultivator of profound attainment. Though I am but a mortal, I have always enjoyed the company of those who tread the Tao. Since it appears you are also bound for the capital, might you consider traveling with us? Han Li paused, contemplating briefly before nodding. If the general does not find me troublesome, I will accept. In truth, he had been considering seeking someone familiar with the Jin capital to inquire about the upcoming trade meet. Now that such a distinguished figure stood before him, one undoubtedly well-informed despite his mortal status, the opportunity could hardly be dismissed. As they conversed further, Han Li learned that Chao Mengrong's father had been transferred from a modest county office to a military post within the capital. Though the title was not more illustrious, relocation from the empire's distant periphery to its heart was a significant ascent in prestige. Cao Mengrong herself had been in sealed cultivation when her father departed, and thus had not accompanied him. By chance, her senior martial sister Wang and her uncle passed near her residence just as she emerged from seclusion. Soon after, she joined them on their journey to the capital. As for Han Li, he spoke only in passing of his own affairs, mentioning prolonged recuperation and recent emergence from seclusion. No further detail was offered. The two women did not press him. After all, they had once discovered him sealed within ice, grievously wounded beyond ordinary remedy. Those injuries had not seemed the sort that could be mended within mere years. Soon a waiter delivered a pot of fragrant tea. Steam curled upward in delicate spirals as the cultivators exchanged light conversation. When the tea was finished, General Wang steered the discussion toward obscure ancient records housed within his private estates. In that moment, he shed the image of battle-hardened commander and appeared instead as a refined scholar, calm, cultured, and earnest. His demeanor left Han Li with a favorable impression. In turn, Han Li surprised the general. Though ancient history did not particularly interest him, his long search through archaic texts for pill formulas and secret techniques had exposed him to countless forgotten secrets. With a few measured words, he captivated the general's full attention. Before long, the two were engrossed in discourse, their voices low and intent, oblivious to all else. Young Miss Wang watched with a wry smile, though a faint shadow touched her heart. Her uncle had always been fascinated by relics of antiquity, spending long hours amid brittle scrolls and dust-laden artifacts. Now that a knowledgeable senior Han had appeared, it was only natural he would be wholly absorbed. Chao Mengrong, however, harbored no resentment. She sat quietly at the side listening. From time to time, her gaze would drift toward Han Li's face, only to hastily retreat as though fearing discovery. Young Miss Wang noticed this with bright, discerning eyes. She found it both amusing and concerning. During their journey, she had already sensed the tender stirrings in her junior sister's heart. Whenever Chao Mengrong spoke of this fellow Taoist Han, her cheeks would flush faintly, as if his image lingered constantly in her thoughts. Young Miss Wang had thus imagined a handsome, confident youth, someone extraordinary enough to move her junior sister's ordinarily composed heart. Yet seeing Han Li in person dispelled that illusion. He was neither strikingly handsome nor particularly imposing. Apart from his somewhat tall frame, there was little remarkable in his appearance. Most likely, he was merely at the foundation establishment stage, possessing a lifespan far exceeding that of her junior sister, whose prospects beyond Qi condensation were slim. In her eyes, they were ill-matched. As these thoughts stirred within her, she began quietly weighing whether she should intervene. From her perspective, Han Li's cultivation was only modestly superior. As the niece of the Southpillar general, persuading him to withdraw would not be difficult. And should persuasion fail, 2 core formation cultivators served within her estate, one word would suffice to make him depart obediently. So that is the case, General Wang was saying, eyes gleaming with fascination. In ancient times, when heaven and earth and yin and yang underwent cataclysmic shifts, unstable spatial fissures formed, allowing demons and devils to trespass into our realm from others. This theory is entirely new to me. Even the core formation cultivators under my employ have never spoken of such matters. Brother Han's knowledge truly broadens my horizons. Yet there remains something I do not understand. The ancient legends speak of Mount Kunwu, an immortal mountain where a celestial immortal once resided. It is said. He continued eagerly. Han Li answered with patience. Just as the general prepared another question, a dragon's cry rang out. Though not thunderous, the sound was unmistakable, clear and resonant, echoing within the tea-house walls. All present froze. Han Li's expression shifted drastically. Azure light flared around him like a sudden tide. In the blink of an eye, he vanished. The 2 women started in alarm, rushing outside only to find Han Li already standing beyond the threshold. He gazed toward the heavens, his expression grave, eyes sharp as drawn blades. Fellow Taoist Han, what has happened? Young Miss Wang asked in shock. Was that the cry of a magic treasure? Are you a core formation cultivator? Beside her, Cao Mengrong clutched her scarf tightly, her face pale as she stared at him in silence. Han Li exhaled slowly, his composure returning like calm after a storm. It is nothing. I merely sensed an old acquaintance passing overhead. Unfortunately, he traveled too swiftly for me to pursue. I fear I have made a spectacle of myself. He paused. Yes, the sound came from a flying sword I keep within my body. Circumstances have changed. I can no longer accompany you. I have urgent matters to attend to. Please forgive my abrupt departure. He cupped his hands in farewell regret, lining his tone. Without another word, he stamped lightly upon the earth. Azure radiance surged skyward, and he shot into the heavens like a streak of blue lightning, vanishing into the distant firmament. The surrounding patrons of the tea-house fell to their knees in stunned terror. An immortal. A great immortal has flown past. He ascended right before our eyes. For a time, chaos and awe rippled outward through the nearby streets. As word spread that immortals had descended among mortals, if only for a fleeting breath beneath the sky. After the time it would take an ordinary mortal to finish a meal, Han Li descended upon the crest of a small mountain. He stood with his hands clasped behind his back, gazing toward the vast city that sprawled across the horizon like a slumbering colossus. At its towering gates, carriages rolled in endless procession, their wheels grinding against stone. Merchants, travelers, soldiers, and common folk streamed in and out like ceaseless currents of a living tide. The capital of Great Jin. Han Li's eyes were calm, yet a shadow lingered within them. As he remained there in silence, monarch soul Divergence's voice echoed within his mind, low and measured. Let it go. The fact that you have confirmed the Elder Devil's presence in Great Jin is already a gain. There will be a day when you reclaim your flying swords, but now is not that day. Your cultivation has yet to fully recover, and the Tri-Flame Fan remains unrefined. Though the Elder Devil once suffered grievous wounds, such a creature would long ago have restored itself by devouring souls and refining cores. If you were to confront it now, your chances would not be high. Han Li's lips curved faintly, though the smile did not reach his eyes. Senior speaks truth. If I were to pursue it now, perhaps I would hold no more than a 1 in 10 chance of victory. That devil is far too formidable. Earlier, I acted somewhat rashly. I was eager to retrieve my bamboo cloudswarm swords and restore the aureate sword formation. But it seems patience must prevail. I will wait until you complete your puppet body, and until I fully refine the Tri-Flame Fan. He paused, his gaze drifting across the distant sky. The devil was flying at extraordinary speed, so urgent that he failed to sense my presence. As for the 2 bamboo cloudswarm swords in his possession, he cannot refine them, yet he refuses to abandon them. The swords were forged from myriad-year golden lightning bamboo, tempered with refined crystal and auric essence. Their worth is immeasurable. To destroy them would require immense devil flame and no small expenditure of strength. Such waste would never appeal to him. A faint smile touched Han Li's face. Monarch soul divergence let out a quiet sigh of admiration. Indeed, if you were to devote yourself wholly to nurturing those swords for another 400 years, your sword formation would reach a terrifying height. It might rival even a divine spirit treasure. Han Li chuckled softly. Perhaps, but I have no desire to sacrifice half my lifespan merely to polish magic treasures. Ha! Your caution rivals my own in my prime. Had I possessed even half your prudence, I might have stepped into the deity transformation stage. As for the elder devil's appearance in the capital, it likely concerns the upcoming trade meet. Youngster Han, you must tread carefully. Do not allow the devil to recognize you. I will be vigilant senior. Originally, I intended to rely upon the Southpillar General's estate to gather information regarding the trade meet. Now it seems I must investigate alone. If memory serves, the Feng clan maintains a restaurant within the capital. I shall begin there. It is safer than risking scrutiny at an inn. With those words, Han Li stepped forward. The mountain wind stirred his robes. In the next breath, he was already descending toward the immense city. The Jin capital was said to be unmatched in grandeur, peerless among mortal cities, and awe-inspiring even to low-grade cultivators. Yet in Han Li's eyes, it fell several degrees short of Heavenly Star City in the scattered star seas, the greatest metropolis he had ever witnessed. Still, the capital bore its own distinct magnificence. Beyond its primary outer wall rose additional 6-layered fortifications, each 15 meters high, constructed at intervals of half a kilometer from the city's heart. To erect such defenses solely through mortal strength was nothing short of miraculous. The city itself was divided into 13 vast districts. The northernmost was the imperial city, spanning nearly 20 kilometers. The remaining districts were equally expansive, dense with winding streets, towering buildings, and countless lives intertwined. To cross merely 2 districts from the gates required nearly half a day's travel on foot. Han Li felt a faint gloom settle over him. He had long grown unaccustomed to moving at the pace of mortals. Eventually, he halted before a 2-story restaurant. Its lacquered signboard bore the elegant insignia of the Feng clan. He studied it silently for a moment before stepping inside. The establishment was thriving tables, filled voices humming like a low current of worldly vitality. Han Li swept his gaze across the first floor without interest and approached the counter where a thin, middle-aged shopkeeper stood tallying accounts. Without a word, Han Li flicked his sleeve. A jade pendant landed softly upon the counter. Inscribed upon it were the words Feng of Ning. The shopkeeper's expression changed subtly. He glanced at Han Li before carefully lifting the pendant, examining it with practiced eyes. Moments later, he tucked it away and lowered his voice. "Please follow me." He led Han Li through a side door into a secluded rear building. Once inside, he respectfully returned the pendant with both hands. "So it is the young master." This servant Feng Quan pays his respects. It was clear he had mistaken Han Li for the deceased Feng Yue. Han Li's voice was cold and concise. "Arrange a residence where I will not be disturbed. Not here. It must be isolated with no nearby occupants. And you will speak of this to no one." "Yes, young master. Please rest here. I will return within half a day." Han Li nodded. When the door closed behind shopkeeper Feng, silence enveloped the room. Han Li pulled a chair aside and sat entering quiet meditation. Time passed like drifting clouds. At last his eyes opened slightly. Footsteps approached. Shopkeeper Feng hurried inside, excitement barely concealed. "Young master, I have secured a suitable residence. The owner is an old friend of mine. His entire household is traveling and will not return for 2 years. The courtyard stands empty. You may move in immediately." "Very well. Lead the way." They exited through the rear of the restaurant where a 2-wheeled cart awaited. A white-haired, hunchbacked old man sat at the reins. Han Li narrowed his eyes slightly. "You are thorough enough to prepare a cart. Yet I instructed you to keep this discreet. Who is this man?" Shopkeeper Feng bowed respectfully. "This is Old Man Wu. He is reliable and nearly deaf. There is no concern of rumors. The residence lies far away. Travel by horse will be swifter." Han Li pondered briefly before nodding. "Very well." He climbed aboard. The cart rolled forward, wheels creaking softly against stone. Han Li sat cross-legged, eyes closed. Shopkeeper Feng remained silent in the corner. After passing through several districts and changing direction more than once, the cart finally halted before a remote courtyard. No other residences stood nearby. The area was desolate, wind whispering through dry grass. Han Li descended with unhurried steps. With a smile, Shopkeeper Feng approached the gate and pushed it open. "This is the place, young master. Allow me to enter first and tidy a room." "You intend to enter first," Han Li said coldly to escape the restriction, "and then have the three inside capture me." Shopkeeper Feng's face drained of color. Without hesitation, he shoved the gate wider and attempted to flee inside. A thin red thread appeared silently behind his head. In the next instant, flames erupted. His body turned to ash before a scream could fully form. The hunchbacked coachman roared attack. A green flying saber shot toward Han Li. Simultaneously, yellow mist billowed within the courtyard. From its depths, a black pitchfork and two scarlet halberds streaked forth. Han Li sneered faintly. With a casual sweep of his sleeve, azure mist surged outward. The flying saber vanished into it, instantly subdued. He waved his arm again. Another burst of light captured the remaining three weapons mid-flight. In a breath's time, all four magic tools were completely restrained. Shocked cries erupted from within the yellow mist. The old coachman's face turned deathly pale. They now understood. This was no ordinary prey. Without hesitation, the old man produced a pale red talisman. Biting his tongue, he spat a mouthful of blood essence upon it. The talisman ignited, dissolving into a sanguine cloud that enveloped him. In a flash, he vanished, reappearing over 30 meters away. Within the mist, three streaks of light burst forth, scattering in different directions as the hidden cultivators fled desperately for their lives. Han Li's expression darkened when he saw the three figures attempting to flee. Without haste, he flicked his fingers lightly toward the cultivators who had burst from the yellow mist. They had barely flown 10 meters when an invisible storm of sword chi swept across the air. Shrill, miserable screams tore through the courtyard. In the next instant, the sword chi shredded their protective light. Blood rained from the sky in a crimson shower, splattering across the barren ground below. The hunchbacked old man who had escaped within the sanguine cloud trembled in terror. Without holding anything back, he poured every strand of his spiritual power into the blood cloud, urging it forward with reckless desperation. His destination was the bustling street barely 100 meters away. He did not truly believe he could escape. But if he could reach a place crowded with mortals, if he could force Han Li to hesitate for even a breath that fleeting moment might buy him a sliver of life. Han Li remained standing where he was unmoving. A sneer touched his lips. He raised a finger and pointed lightly toward the fleeing blood cloud. The thin red thread that had incinerated shopkeeper Feng moments ago appeared soundlessly behind the cloud like a viper, striking from the void. A flash of crimson light pierced straight through it. An agonized wail echoed across the empty courtyard. The blood cloud dispersed instantly. The old man's body fell from mid-air like a broken puppet, only to be caught by a massive hand formed of azure light. The great hand had already discarded the seized magic tools. Now it returned, carrying only the wounded cultivator back before Han Li. As for the red thread, it vanished without a trace, only to reappear beside Han Li a breath later. Han Li extended his palm. The thread descended gently, revealing its true form, an inch-long flying needle, translucent as crystal. Crimson light pulsed faintly along its surface like a dormant heartbeat. A hint of satisfaction flickered through Han Li's eyes. Considerable effort had been spent refining the crystallized demon core into this treasure. Its speed was lightning swift, its stealth impeccable, its lethality precise. With further tempering, its might could rise yet another stage. With a casual flip of his hand, the needle dissolved into a streak of light and was reabsorbed into his body. Only then did Han Li lift his gaze to the hunchbacked old man suspended within the azure hand. The old man's face was pale as death. A fresh hole gaped through his abdomen, blood seeping steadily from the wound. When he met Han Li's eyes, he forced out a trembling smile. Misunderstanding. A complete misunderstanding. He stammered. Senior possesses heaven-shaking abilities. We clearly targeted the wrong person. Senior must be magnanimous. Surely you would not stoop to the level of this foolish junior. I am merely a servant of the Guaning Kong clan. If Senior has questions, I will answer everything. Everything. His words tumbled over each other in frantic desperation. Han Li's expression did not change. He flicked a talisman onto the old man's body. The talisman flared once, and the old man's voice ceased instantly. His eyes dulled, spirit extinguished, though life still lingered. So troublesome, Han Li muttered softly. I only need answers. With a wave of his sleeve, he gathered the fallen magic tools into his grasp and stepped into the courtyard. The immense azure hand followed, gripping the unconscious old man firmly. A crude smokescreen restriction shrouded the interior. Han Li paid it no heed. With a single gesture, a series of sealing incantations struck the formation. It shattered like fragile glass. He entered one of the rooms within. After the time it would take to finish a meal, Han Li struck the old man's body lightly. It disintegrated into ash. The cultivator passed from this world without ever regaining consciousness. Han Li settled into a wooden chair and rested his chin upon his hand. Eyes lowered in contemplation. Without concern for preserving the man's soul, he had employed the dream tear technique to scour every fragment of memory. The old man had been a Foundation establishment attendant of the Kong clan, overseeing their affairs within the Jin capital. He had been capable, dangerously so. 2 years ago, he had discovered shopkeeper Feng and coerced him into allegiance. What mortal could defy a cultivator's threat? When Han Li had presented Feng Yue's jade pendant, shopkeeper Feng had immediately reported it to the Kong clan, hoping to earn favor. Thus the old man had rejoiced at the apparent return of the long-lost young master of the Feng clan. Such an opportunity could not be squandered. He had arranged the ambush personally. Yet from the moment Han Li left the restaurant, he had already perceived the old man's clumsy concealment techniques. The earlier question directed at shopkeeper Feng had been deliberate. Too many mortals had surrounded them. Direct action would have drawn unnecessary attention. So Han Li had followed, allowing the trap to unfold. Foundation establishment cultivators lying in ambush. To him, they were no more threatening than ants. Even had core formation cultivators awaited him, it would have been laughable. As he sifted deeper through the memories, however, Han Li's expression shifted slightly. He had uncovered something unexpected. After the joint trade fair of the 3 noble clans of Guaning concluded, it was discovered that the Kong clan ancestor had already had his soul devoured, his corpse possessed by a devil. The other 2 clans, alarmed, had joined forces and sought assistance from their backing sects. Together they struck down the possessed ancestor. The Kong clan's strength plummeted from the strongest to the weakest among the 3. This in turn had disrupted the plans of King Glorious Blaze, who lay hidden deep within the Snowmound mountain range. Enraged, he had raised his ancient tomb. Thousands of Foundation establishment-grade undead soldiers had surged forth, forming the underworld ghost formation and slaughtering all human life across the mountains without restraint. The high-grade cultivators backing the 3 clans engaged in a massive battle against the tomb's 3 corpse lords. Refined corpses were destroyed. Numerous low-grade disciples perished, their souls devoured by the ghost formation. Even the nascent soul cultivators found themselves at a severe disadvantage within the formation's oppressive domain. One had suffered grievous injury through momentary carelessness, trapped upon the very mountain that had once hosted the grand auction. The cultivators found themselves besieged within a 50-kilometer radius of ghostly miasma. They survived only by relying upon the defensive grand formations previously established there. They had underestimated King Glorious Blaze, believing him crippled from prior injury. They had not expected that within his tomb's domain, he possessed power equivalent to a late nascent soul cultivator. Combined with 2 early nascent soul-grade corpse lords, the cultivators were completely overwhelmed. Had events continued, thus annihilation would have followed. But the prolonged upheaval finally alerted a late nascent soul cultivator from a nearby Taoist sect. In a display of overwhelming strength, this eccentric forced the 3 corpse lords to retreat into the depths of the snow-mound mountains. Yet he did not pursue. The 3 clans, shaken and weakened, withdrew entirely from the region. Thus, King Glorious Blaze retained dominion over the mountains and the chance to rebuild his strength once more. Naturally, Han Li understood these memories revealed only fragments of truth. Yet he could easily connect them to the heavily injured King Glorious Blaze he had once encountered. He clicked his tongue softly. That corpse monarch was truly formidable. Even gravely wounded in battle against Master Wildsand, he had recovered with astonishing speed and launched a full-scale assault shortly thereafter. Han Li, who had consumed countless medicinal elixirs throughout his life, knew this should have been impossible. Even now, despite his own abundant resources, he had yet to fully restore his peak cultivation. Thus, there were only 2 possibilities. Either the corpse monarch's inherent arts were terrifyingly profound, or they possessed some miraculous regenerative property. Han Li's thoughts drifted to the heavenly corpse pearl resting within his body. The pearl's power had greatly aided his cultivation of the bright jade arts. Without it, he doubted he could have reached the 2nd layer, even with the Vajra relic. Perhaps that pearl was the key to King Glorious Blaze's miraculous recovery. Han Li pondered a moment longer before dismissing the matter. For now, such concerns were secondary. He turned his attention to the capital. Remaining in this courtyard was impossible. Shopkeeper Feng's disappearance would soon draw inquiry. Better to seek temporary refuge in a monastery or temple far quieter than an inn and less prone to prying eyes. He would also need to investigate the cultivator markets and gather details regarding the upcoming great auction. Having finalized his plans, Han Li rose. He left the courtyard without a single trace behind, no corpse, no aura, no lingering spiritual fluctuation, as though he had never been there at all. That's all for today's content. See you in the next part. Support me by becoming a member. It will give me more motivation. Thank you so much.